What's up, everybody? Josh Armijo here. I hope everybody's doing good and well and stuff. I got an album review to do for you, and I'm going to be talking to you about the debut album from the band Afterbirth, entitled The Time Traveler's Dilemma. This is released on Unique Leader Records. Now, if you're not too familiar with this band, they are based out of Long Island, New York, and the best way to describe the sound of this band would be a very technical, creative, philosophical style of brutal death metal. Yeah. There are lots of bands within New York death metal that are considered to be very, very pioneering and influential. Bands that come to mind would be probably the ones that most people are already familiar with and aware of. Suffocation, Mortician, Internal Bleeding, Dehumanized, just to name a few. But one band that should not be forgotten about or left behind in the discussion of New York death metal would be a band like Afterbirth. This is a band that was around during the time in which New York death metal was slowly but surely getting its footings and bearings in extreme music. And with the release of a rehearsal tape and a 1994 demo entitled Psychopathic Embryotomy, that's when we realized a band like Afterbirth was ahead of its time with its style of death metal. Very guttural vocals, creative riffs, spastic drumming, just an overall solid package. But this band had seemed to have been dormant for quite a while until 2013, in which we got reintroduced to this band in the form of a compilation release entitled Fetucidal Embryo Harvestation, put out through Pathos Productions in 2013. That, of course, compiled the two demo releases this band put out, plus assorted live tracks, to get the people reintroduced to a project like this. And, of course, with that release out of the way, the spark was lit for this band to return. And in the process of this band returning, we got a multitude of very solid demo and EP releases, most notably a 2015 EP entitled Maggots in Her Smile. Pretty much giving you an idea of what has been going on since this band has reformed. Pretty much the main principal members from the early 90s, David Case, Keith Harris, and Cody Drasser. Working together with multitude of vocalists, and the material has been very solid. Of course, they've been putting in a lot of good efforts playing live shows, and now all this time later we have the very first full-length album from Afterbirth entitled The Time Traveler's Dilemma. It's 11 tracks, and it clocks in at around 44 minutes in length, and pretty much the fact that these guys have been around for so long and to have accomplished what they have done in the realms of extreme metal is just mesmerizing. And listening to the work that they put on this album, you'd swear as if you were listening to a bunch of newcomers playing this music, because this is just some top of the food chain level material. This is a very, very solid and awesome debut, and definitely very much recommended for anyone that appreciates New York death metal. The main focal point of an album like this is, to me, the music, and there is lots and lots of killer music to be heard throughout this album. Listening to opening tracks like Eternal Return, Maggots in Her Smile, to lengthier tracks like Multiverse Dementia and Timeless Formless, you get a sense of why these guys are so awesome at what they do. The guitar playing on here is incredibly piercing. I love the way every riff sounds, the technicality, the intelligence, the pinpoint accuracy of the riffs sound really, really wonderful. And even the parts where it tends to venture off into more obscure, sort of jazzy sort of parts. Going back to Eternal Return, you hear that in bits and pieces on that song. I think it works out very well here. Even to some of the more instrumental breaks throughout this album, because you get a few instrumentals peppered in between some of the songs here, and I think that these instrumentals add a little bit of a nice touch to the overall theme and concept of this record. The riff work on here is amazing. The bass work is very technical. You can hear it quite well throughout this entire mix. Very audible, definitely holding a nice gesture to the riffs that are being played throughout this record. I just love this. Just the overall tone of the bass is wonderful. When it comes to the drums are sensational here. It's pretty fill heavy. From the minute you hear the opening parts of Eternal Return to throughout the majority of this track, you get a lot of songs that have a high emphasis on drum fills, and these drum fills sound wonderful. But as far as every other aspect of the drum is concerned, it's really awesome. I love the blasts. I love the double bass. I just love how well adjusted this drum performance is, especially for the lengthier tracks of this record. Once again, going to tracks like Timeless Formless and a track like Devouring the Hungry Ghost. It's just some really awesome stamina done here by this drummer, keeping in pace with the technicality of this record. Drum work is sensational, and when it comes to the vocals, I like the fact that they brought in Will from Artificial Brain and Buckshot Facelift to do the vocals, because he has a very awesome vocal style that's suitable for brutal death metal. Super low gutturals, very undecipherable, very weird sounding vocals. And I believe his vocal style works out perfectly here on the Time Traveler's Dilemma. I love his range, I love his gutturals, I love the way he delivers his vocals. It's just a very awesome performance. And I believe on the track Timeless Formless you get some vocal work from a guy by the name of Frank Rennie, who used to be in the band Internal Bleeding. And his vocal work on that track sounds really wonderful. But as far as Will's vocals are concerned, he does a tremendous job here handling the vocal work throughout the majority of this record, and he really shows why he is probably one of the better guys to do this kind of style of vocal for death metal. So overall, after pretty much being involved for almost 20 plus years or so, or even longer, Afterbirth deliver a debut that has been well worth the wait. Hopefully in the future we'll be able to hear and get more ideas and more creativity from Afterbirth. This is a band that definitely deserves its place among the big shots of New York death metal. This is a very wonderful debut. So if I had to think of any personal favorite tracks, I would definitely have to say Eternal Return, Maggots in Her Smile, Multiverse Dementia. The two-part self-titled track of this record sounds really awesome as far as the instrumentals are concerned. Timeless Formless is a really good track, and yeah, so what I'm going to do is I will leave you some links in the description box as to how you can get a hold of this album and listen to it. I will leave you a link to the Unique Leader Records Bandcamp page where you can listen to this album in its entirety, hear it for yourself, and be your own judge as to whether you think it's worthy of being purchased or not. You can stream it, buy it digitally, and it is available as both a CD and 12-inch vinyl, whatever tickles your fancy. Yeah, so again, the album is The Time Traveler's Dilemma by Afterbirth. This is released on Unique Leader Records. Go check this out. And for a score, I'm going to give this a very strong 8.5 out of 10. Very, very awesome debut album. Afterbirth are a very important aspect of New York death metal and brutal death metal in general. So if you happen to have heard this album, definitely let me know what you think about it and how you feel about it. Are any of you guys into Afterbirth? Let me know. I'm the Who Cool This Review. Thanks a lot for watching. Thanks for checking out my channel. And until the next time, Armijo out.